Hey y'all. Alright, first off, happy 2019. So as promised, our first review of 2019 is We Were 8 Years in Power by one of my literary baes, Ta-Nehisi Coates. First, to start off, I want to read the dedication. To Kenyatta, Tom, Nicola, and Amelie, who went with me into the deep and saw me back to shore. I love that. Like, for me, when I first read that, I was like, yes, can people please go with me into the deep and see me back to shore? What I absolutely appreciate so much about this book, other than the prolific way in which Ta-Nehisi Coates Ta-Nehisi Coates writes, I actually think that he is an exemplary writer. Just his mastery of the English language and how he strings words together, it makes you feel as if you are in it with him, I think is something that is admirable. What I liked about each chapter is that even though it covers a different year within Obama's presidency, I appreciate how Coates linked it to larger societal issues, and also in a lot of his reflections, he reflects and draws the immediate connection to how Obama's election as president kind of created the, not kind of, well, helped to create the political climate in which we have now in the election of Donald Trump. So I like how he draws that, and anyone who knows me knows that a soapbox topic for me is that a lot of times Americans view any incident ahistorically, whether that be American history or world history, and I'm like, these things are not new, they've happened before, there are lessons that we can learn here. And I think that he did a great job of just connecting those dots. One key point that I think he makes early on is just the assumption that Black excellency, or the demonstration that Black people are exemplary, are regular, right? Are human, are exceptional, are profound, and can fit within American society. I think throughout history there has been this expectation that if that's demonstrated, then white people, white races would welcome Black people into society, and that has not been the case. And he also argues early on that if anything, that has kind of perpetuated the hate, the violence, the anger, because it goes against the American myth of exceptionalism, but then also America as we know it today was built on the foundation of slavery, and slavery was able, and humans were able to justify slavery by saying that Black people weren't human, they were less than, they were not equal, they did not deserve the same rights and or treatment as humans, especially as white humans. So to then have a Black president, and to then have this demonstration right in your face of how Black people can easily fold into the quote of American society, goes against that myth that so many people are holding on to. One quote that I feel just actually summarizes this perfectly is this: "There is a basic assumption in this country, one Black people are not immune to, which holds that if Blacks comport themselves in a way that accords with middle-class values, if they are polite, educated, and virtuous, then all the fruits of America will be open to them. In its most vulgar form, this theory of personal good Negro government denies the existence of racism and white supremacy as meaningful forces in American life. In its more nuanced and reputable form, the theory pitches itself as an equal complement to anti-racism. But the argument made in much of this book is that good Negro government, personal and political, often augments the very white supremacy it seeks to combat. That is what happened to Thomas Miller and his colleagues in 1895. It is what happened to Black people all through South Carolina during Redemption. It is what happened to Black people on the south side of Chicago during the post-war implementation of the New Deal. And it is what I contend is right now happening to the legacy of the country's first Black president." One thing I appreciate is just how in his writing, he's not attacking one group. He's viewing the full lens. And not to say that I agree with everything that Coates said, but I do feel as if he analyzed it from a place that was pure, right? To see it as it is. And I know some folks get frustrated with Coates. They feel as if he is pessimistic in his views, as if these problems are unsolvable. And I don't think that's the case. What I appreciate so much about Coates and why he is one of my, well, he's tied for my #1 spot of contemporary authors, is that I think he is honest and he is critical, and he is saying, here is what it is, this is what it has been, this is why it is the way it is, and we need to see it as it is, call it by its name in order to begin to fix it. Even with the case of reparations, which is included here, which I think is an amazing essay. I think that he doesn't say this is unsolvable. He says that here is what other countries have done historically, and here is what that has meant for the country moving forward. I just think that this book addresses so many things, but I think he does it extremely well. Oh, one really cool fact that I want to highlight here is, that's why I love reading. I love books, and I'm like an eternal student of life. You just learn so much. So we all know about the war on drugs and what it has meant for the Black community, the Latino community, and just how disruptive it has been, right? But so when we say the war on drugs, we're assuming the 1970s war on drugs, right? That was the first one. But actually what I found out is it wasn't. It was the third one. The third one. It was depressing to see that drug wars in this country are almost never launched purely out of concern for public health. In most every instance that Musto looks at, there is some fear of an outsider. Blacks and cocaine, Mexican Americans and marijuana, Chinese Americans and opium. So much throughout American history that I could talk about, whether it's J. Edgar Hoover and his COINTELPRO programs, and just how government and policy and systems have been used against American citizens throughout history. In an act of terror, and it's just extremely alarming. And he also brings a lot of that up here. One last point I want to make, and it's in this epilogue about how President Trump is the first white president. And he says, to accept that whiteness brought us Donald Trump is to accept whiteness as an existential danger to the country and the world. So it is a danger to the world. It is. Throughout history, we've seen the problems of whiteness. And I'm not talking about white people, but whiteness. And how rampant and destructive it can be. So I definitely agree there. Overall, you could have guessed this, but I think everyone should read the book. On a scale of A to F, come on now, it's Coates. It's Coates. The man does no wrong, and even when he does wrong, he's a little right. No, but seriously, I think everyone should read it. I think it's an A effort. I think that, again, what makes this so worth it, beyond the essays, just seeing how they've aged throughout time, is just his reflections. And I think that's the new writing that folks will really appreciate, but that I really appreciate it. So I think everyone should read it. All right, so that's my review of We Were 8 Years in Power by Ta-Nehisi Coates. As for what's next, as promised, I now have buttons, and you can now purchase a button. Finally in focus, my MsMalcolmHughes buttons. The PayPal link is below. The buttons are $4.99. So if you send along $4.99 along with your address, I will ship you a button anywhere within the continental US. Next, we are moving to the review a week, or just a video a week, and I'm super excited. So as for books, what we have coming up, we have 1 book and 2 comic books. Let me explain that. So the next book will be Children of Blood and Bone. That is coming. Also, we have Yummy, which is a graphic novel, kind of like a little short comic book based on a teen in Chicago. That is coming. I'm super excited about it. And the third one that I'm extremely excited about is Killmonger. I don't know if folks are aware, but Killmonger, after the film, got its own comic book. It's a 5-part series. The first 3 parts are out, so it'll be broken up in 2. I'll do a review of the first 3 parts, and then I'll do a review of the last 2. So I'm super excited for those. And then additionally, I will have a video review posted of my time in Mexico City for you all. So that's 4 things that's coming. So that's at least the next month where it's a video week. So yeah, that's it. I'm grateful 2019 is starting off fabulously, and I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, learning Spanish is still happening. That's still going well. More updates to come, y'all. But as always, and for the first time in 2019 me saying this, remember to give time and to have the best day of your life on purpose. So that's it, y'all. It's MsMalcolmHughes. I'm signing off until next week.
Pretty, witty, girly, worldly, one who likes to party but come home early.